growing strong. The words of House Tyrell fit many characters in the world of ice and fire, but one woman stands out in a special way. Today, we'll show you a piece that completely captures the nature of the character who wears it. You're watching Fable Fabric. Let's get started. What can you do with a dress? Pretty much anything. You can show your mood, flirt with an opponent, play the game of court intrigue, or show off your own superiority. In George Martin's saga, costumes matter a lot, and they're something you really want to pay attention to. Today, we're recreating one of Margaery Tyrell's gowns, the one we see when she already appears as King Joffrey Baratheon's bride-to-be. True to her house, she keeps its symbols in her clothing. House Tyrell was founded by the Andal knight Alistair Tyrell, and over time his family became one of the principal houses of the Reach. Their sigil with a rose and thorns reflects the nature of the house. Behind a facade of honesty, the Tyrells hide cunning and a love of intrigue. Their strategy is always the same: stand with the likely winner. But the time has come to move on to our craft. We'll start with putting the patterns on the fabric. First, the artist lightly and carefully transfers the outline of the future design using carbon paper. Then they go over the lines with a marker, and only after that begin painting on the golden patterns. It's a very long, painstaking job, but the result is absolutely worth it. Next, we move on to sewing. Of course, we begin by cutting the fabric. The tailor carefully marks all the needed pieces with tailor's chalk, following the edges of pre-made paper templates. Then the pieces are gently cut out along the outline. For large details, we skip the chalk and just cut straight along the paper pattern, which speeds things up a lot. Then we start stitching everything together, beginning with the bodice. One of the key elements of our dress is the petticoat. In earlier times, this piece was extremely common. It was used to give the skirt more visual volume and to keep the dress from becoming staticky and clinging to the legs. In later fashion, however, the petticoat took on a special meaning as it began to emphasize the erotic side of women's attire. Before we sew the skirt, we try the bodice on a mannequin to check how accurate all the work is, and only then move on to sewing the skirt and petticoat, and finally join everything into one dress. Are there any real historical equivalents for a dress like this? Most likely, none. First, we need to roughly understand what time period A Song of Ice and Fire belongs to. Since this is a fantasy universe, its years don't line up with our history at all. The Meisters of the Citadel count years from Aegon Targaryen's conquest of Westeros. The main story covers events that begin in year 298, after Aegon's conquest, and go at least until year 300. But by indirect hints, allusions, and character designs, we can loosely compare this setting to 12th century in our world. In many ways, the world of Game of Thrones looks a lot like medieval Europe. So what did women actually wear back then? Their outfits were mostly much more modest. Closed dresses that at best showed the collarbones and shoulders, with large sleeves, long belted skirts, and often heavy headpieces. Rich embroidery and jewelry were absolutely there, in many different forms. Margaery's dress, at least the one we're talking about today, is much more open, even daring, compared to historical examples. It's pretty hard to imagine a lady of the highest ranks in our real Middle Ages walking around in something like this. And what's a dress without the right boots? Here, the craftsman again starts by cutting the leather for the future piece. Using a paper template, he draws the outline and then carefully cut all the necessary parts with a blade. Then comes the dyeing process. In this case, a special dye is used. You can't really see the final shade and depth of color right away. It only appears when the leather is completely dry. Only the master knows in advance what the result will look like. While some pieces are drying, we prepare the stitch holes with punches and then use an awl and wax to give the holes the right shape. While the upper parts are still drying, we start making the sole. The beginning is much the same: marking, tracing the outline, then carefully cutting everything with a blade. After that, we nail the sole to a prepared last and shape it into the form we need. Once everything is dry, we start stitching all the parts together into a single boot. All the inner seams are carefully hammered flat so they don't stick out and won't cause any discomfort when worn. Then, when most of the boot is assembled, we punch the holes for the laces. Around each lace hole, we also make tiny extra holes so we can stitch around it with thread. This protects the leather from wearing out and makes lacing easier. With the boots, oddly enough, we do have historical analogues in our world, but they don't belong to the 12th century we roughly tied to Westeros. They come from the Victorian era. That's when this kind of mid-heel lace-up boot was pretty common among ladies. To complete the whole look, the dress needs some kind of symbolic accessory, and Margaery has one: a golden belt with a large rose, the symbol of House Tyrell. Did real noble houses ever use a rose in their heraldry? They did. The easiest example is the Wars of the Roses, the civil conflict in the Plantagenet dynasty between the houses of Lancaster and York. The talisman of York's was the white rose, praising the purity and innocence of the Virgin Mary. The Lancasters had a red rose on their coat of arms, the earthly image of Christ's sacrificial blood. A rose also appears on Martin Luther's personal seal, known as the Luther seal or the Luther rose, a widely recognized symbol of Lutheranism. There's also a rose in the national heraldry of Finland. Roses are shown on the Finnish coat of arms and are part of the rank insignia of Finnish army officers. But let's get back to making our belt and show you how we create the wax model. It all begins with calculating how much material we need and drawing a sketch. Then the craftsman chooses a wax rod of the right diameter. The rod is softened in hot water, so it becomes flexible, then bent to the desired shape using a template. After that, the profile of the rod is shaped so it becomes a bit more flattened. From the wax shavings left from this stage, we melt and attach the thorns in the marked spots. First, they're shaped with a heated tool, then refined with a scalpel. The rosebud itself is sculpted by hand. Using these wax models of all the parts, we create silicon molds so we can copy every element of the belt in wax. With a wax injector, we make copies of all the models, which will later be cast in metal. All the elements of our costume are ready, and we can finally see what Margaery Tyrell's dress looks like, brought into reality.
Do you want to be a queen?
No.
I want to be the queen.
Could you kill something?
I don't know, Your Grace. Do you think I could? Women in our position must make the best of our circumstances.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and tell us in the comments which legendary item you'd like to see us make in the next episodes.